We are live now and recording, even though the meeting is not started.
We can now start the meeting.
Thank you, sir. Before we begin, I'd like to note that this is a special meeting of the Emergency Services Council in accordance with the Brown Act. The agenda is limited to the specific items noticed for today, and public comments related for those items. The usual agenda item for public comments, not agendized matters, correspondence and other announcements, and council report outs have been omitted and will not be heard during this meeting. So with that, let's go ahead and call the special meeting of January the 29th, 2026 to order of the San Mateo County Department of Emergency Management and the Emergency Services Council. May I please have roll call?
Yes. Town of Atherton? Yes. City of Belmont? City of Brisbane? City of Burlingame?
Present.
Town of Colma?
Present.
City of Daly City? Ben Sylvester, present. City of East Palo Alto? Present. City of Foster City?
Present.
City of Half Moon Bay? Town of Hillsborough?
Marie Drum, present.
City of Menlo Park? City of Millbrae?
Stephen Rinaldi, present.
City of Pacifica? City of Portola Valley? City of Redwood City?
Kaya Aiken, present.
City of San Bruno?
Rico Medina present.
City of San Carlos? City of San Mateo? Present. City of South San Francisco?
Flora Nicholas, present.
Town of Woodside? County of San Mateo?
Thank you, sir.
And we have a forum for the record.
Appreciate it. And first and foremost, Happy New Year to everyone. Next, let's go to item 2, action to set agenda and approve September 17th, 2025 meeting minutes.
So moved.
Motion by Hillsborough, seconded by Daly City. There being no public comment, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Ayes have it, passes unanimously. Let's move on to item 3, Sheriff's Office presentation. Yes, appreciated very much you both being here. Thank you for your time and appreciate the presentation of what we received even before we received it. I'll turn it over to you, sir.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Thank you. My name is Chris Chung. I serve as your undersheriff in the county. Sheriff Binder was supposed to be here, but he had an unexpected urgent matter a couple hours ago that called him away. So unfortunately, he sends his regards. If he was here, he would tell you that we're real excited to be here. If you know anything about this new administration in the sheriff's office, it's one of collaboration. So we very much want to work with all of our county and municipal partners, not at you, but with you. And so a very quick little background about me. I'm a hometown kid here, grew up in Foster City, spent the majority of my professional career in the city of Mountain View. Worked for the police department there. So it's an honor to be back and serving in my own backyard as I'm still a county resident. So for now, we have this opportunity to share with you a little bit of our preparedness and how we work with our partners in the county to provide safety and security, especially with the upcoming Super Bowl event. So I'll turn it over to Lieutenant Young, who leads our Emergency Services Bureau. Thank you.
My name is Will Young. I'm the lieutenant for the Homeland Security Division in the Emergency Services Bureau. The Emergency Services Bureau, what is it? It is comprised of specialized sworn units, plus 12 highly skilled volunteer units. We are the mutual aid coordinators for San Mateo County. So we work hand in hand with Region 2 out of Alameda County and obviously Cal OES, National Guard, etc. We coordinate law enforcement resources to major events, critical incidents, these kind of things, specialized events, special activities, like evidence searches, search and rescue missions. And when I mean by evidence searches, I mean like an example that would be, let's say San Mateo PD had a shooting and they're looking for shell casings. So we would send a bunch of search and rescue people out there with metal detectors and we'll go out there and we'll search for it. I mean, those guys love doing that. So if you ever have an incident like that, they'll be the first ones to respond. And obviously we are open 24/7, so you can call us anytime. That's our mission right there, to safeguard lives and property by coordinating law enforcement resources and equipment to prepare for, to, and mitigate the effects of disasters and critical incidents. And we couldn't do that without our specialized units. Some of those specialized units are like the drone unit. We have an honor guard unit, SWAT. On the left-hand side in the orange boxes is our primary missions. One of our primary missions that we always get sent out on statewide is our search and rescue missions. And that's through all of our volunteer units. So we have almost 400 volunteers. Okay, and so we have a very, very large volunteer unit. A lot of search and rescue people. Obviously, we have a dive unit, air support unit, things like that. That's just a photo of some training and events that we've been on. As you can see, everyone's smiling in there. And so everyone's having a good time. We actually have a real good time working with our volunteers, and it's fun. So ESB and emergency management coordination. So we work hand in hand with the emergency management team. Okay, and so any major event, pumpkin festival, right, that everybody knows, any type of major emergency, we share operational plans, we share resources, we're consistently talking with one another, and so we're basically in each other's pocket, in each other's ear about, hey, what are you doing over here? Can we help you? Can we help you guys out with this? And so that's how we work. What's very important for us and our team and the emergency management team is to elevate and share timely, consistent, and accurate prepared information with the community. Like SMC alerts, all the weather alerts that we get, right? You know, with all this crazy weather. And so it's just make sure we send out one message, right? So everyone understands what's going on. So for Super Bowl and FIFA, for the last several months, this has basically been my life is just planning Super Bowl and FIFA. I know it is for Nelson also. For the last several months, we've been coordinating with federal agencies and all of your local agencies. We've been actually talking to all of them up and down the peninsula, from San Francisco PD, San Francisco Airport, Burlingame, down in Santa Clara, Mountain View, things like that. And we also coordinate with all the feds and our NICRIC. The operational periods for Super Bowl will be February 1st through the 9th. Okay, so there's going to be, I know the game's on the 8th, but we have teams coming in, owners, everybody's coming in through that entire week. And then obviously they're leaving at night, so we have to be ready for that. FIFA is a longer operational period, and that's going to be a chore for us because we're going to have obviously our deputies, but we're going to be reaching out to your cities and your cops and asking for help. And that operational period is going to be from June 11th to July 1st. There's only 6 games, but we're going to be working that entire time period, that entire period, because there's all these events going on. Okay, and so I've heard a lot of different numbers get thrown around. It looks like, I mean, the last number I heard was maybe 500,000 people coming in to the peninsula, but who knows, right? Yeah, you know, I think there's 7 teams coming in, if I'm not correct. And so we'll see what happens, you know. I know there's some issues with some teams up in Seattle right now. But hopefully there's no political issues that escalate to anything that's going on in Seattle. So you're going to see our security footprint, you're gonna see a lot of law enforcement. During FIFA and during Super Bowl, you're gonna see all of us all on Highway 101 between Levi Stadium, San Jose, San Francisco. They're gonna be traveling. There's gonna be a lot of escorts. You'll see us committed to Caltrain because that's gonna be our primary mission in San Mateo County because of all the ridership and all the people coming from the city going back and forth to the game. And so you're gonna see a lot of different units out there. You're gonna expect to see our dronians flying. Our airplane will be flying out there also. Our motor units, our dirt bikes will be along the rail line along Caltrain. And so we're gonna be everywhere. So just so you guys expect a lot of traffic and all this kind of stuff that comes with these events. What else? These are just some photos from APEC. Does anyone here remember APEC? And oh yeah, all the groans and moans. Yeah, that was me too, groaning and moaning. Yeah, so APEC 2023, November 11th to 18th or something like that. But yeah, those are just some photos and all the things that we did out there. You know, coordinating with all your cities for a lot of crowd control issues that we had out there at the airport and security details that we did. But yeah, that's about what we do. Any questions?
Thank you, Lieutenant, very much for the presentation. We appreciate you being here.
Sure.
So if there are questions on regards to the presentation or within the Emergency Services Council, if we kind of keep it to that realm, it'd be great. First, we'll start with Daly City, then go to Hillsborough.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Senator Young, thank you very much.
Of course.
You mentioned about the various collaboration and mutual aid with various local police jurisdictions. So we come together and assist each other. However, I heard you say one word, and that's various escorts, which will probably take place between San Francisco and Santa Clara. Are we going to be incorporating mutual aid also with state agencies like the California Highway Patrol?
Yes, sir.
I didn't see it listed. I mean, they're the experts on the freeway, he said.
Oh, yes.
So.
For sure, 100%. I mean, if we left it out there, I apologize. 100%. Yeah, the CHP, they are the experts
Gotcha.
and all these escorts. So we go to help them, right? And they typically take all the important ones, and we'll take like maybe the owner's daughter or something like that. Yeah.
Well, you know, my son is subject to no days off during that period. He did tell me about owning parties and whatnot. You gotta be there for them. And you know, things happen, so.
Yeah, no, without a doubt, sir. That will be happening. You're gonna see where these teams are gonna be staying at hotels, right? And that hotel will be taken over by law enforcement. It'll be 24/7, it'll be staffed 24/7. 100%,
Great job, thank you so much.
of course. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you, Lieutenant. And two parts questions.
Sure.
One is that you mentioned that you have the largest volunteer unit, 400 numbers, right? Are they trained? Is there a specific requirement when you talk about volunteers? They're not just anyone walking from the street to be recruited. It's somebody that are interested and then you train them, correct?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, so all of our units, all of our volunteer units we background all of our volunteers, right? Because now they're associated to the sheriff's office. So we background all of them. Not only that, they go to whatever unit they're going to, and they typically test them, see what their skill level is at, and then all of them go through a probationary period. And so some of our search and rescue units have a higher base level skill, right? And so if you don't come in with that high base level skill already, then you're probably, and you have maybe a personality issue with people on the team, yeah, you're probably not going to make it. But yeah, it's pretty tough.
Fantastic. That's really good to know. So my second part of the question is exciting about the Super Bowl and FIFA. And it's really reassuring to hear that you've been working on it long and planning out, and with your past experience, this is going to be a huge collaboration with all the details to pay attention to. My question is, you mentioned in your presentation about Caltrain, you know, as sort of a form of a public transportation that you're going to be focusing on drone, dirt bikes, and, you know, physical presence of the law enforcement. Why just the Caltrain? Is there particular reasons why just the Caltrain? Or is that, are there also public transit such as BART and also buses that need to be paid attention to that is incorporated in there?
Yeah, so I say Caltrain, meaning because that falls under our jurisdiction specifically, right? But yeah, we are working with BART, BART PD, obviously Sandtrans, right? And so we've been in contact and we are working with all mass transit. I mentioned Caltrain because that's going to be our biggest security footprint, right? We're going to have a lot of cops out there, and it's a very long footprint, meaning it goes from San Francisco down to San Jose, right? Yeah, it extends farther, but that's basically going to be our footprint. But there's so many people riding that train all at one time, right? And so that's what, I don't want to say we're afraid of, but that's what keeps me up at night,
You're
right?
paying
And just,
attention
yeah,
to.
just thinking about what we can do to mitigate issues.
And so I do applaud you for, you know, thinking ahead and planning and coordinating. I just, you know, want to be mindful that the messaging, as you allude to, is really critical to the public. And so to the agencies, there's any way that they can support you in terms of the messaging and help you, you know, making sure that everyone is clear on that in case of any kind of incidents occurred.
Yes, ma'am.
Really helpful.
Yes, ma'am. And just to talk a little bit about that. So we are working with like the NFL, the county, the federal agencies to kind of consolidate messages and, you know, make sure we have, especially like FIFA, right? We have different messages in different languages, right? And so the same message gets out to all these different people coming in from different locations. And so hopefully people read it and sign up for SNC alert and those kind of things. So yeah,
Thank you,
of
Lieutenant.
course.
LT, I'm gonna step in here just for a second to add to that. Trudy, do you want to kick off a little bit about what we've been doing collaboratively on the messaging?
Sure. So, we are going to be actually presenting this to your city managers in the upcoming month. So this is foreshadowing that a little bit. We are working together with the sheriff's office, the fire department, our CEO's office to create, based on that 5-element framework, to create templates and holding statements that look the same, including press releases. So they have the same exact thread. And once those have been created, then what we will be doing is going through law enforcement PIOs, Gretchen will be doing that, fire PIOs, city PIOs, department PIOs. And so we're all saying the same thing in the same way, so people are used to it. We're really lucky to have Gretchen here for the Super Bowl. Gretchen and Michelle Durand, we will be opening up the JIC here. And so Gretchen, I'll leave it.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Rudy. And I should have introduced myself initially. I'm Gretchen Spiker. I'm the Director of Communications for the San Mateo County Sheriff's Office. Really honored to be here to all of the council members. Thank you for your time. In addition to everything that Trudy shared, for the last several months, really close to a year, regionally, public information officers, including myself and others in San Mateo County, have been meeting with our partner counties in San Francisco and then also in Santa Clara to ensure a coordinated messaging front, not only within our county, but within the region. And so one of the things that we did very early on and continue to be focused on is alert and warning. And so we've deployed a lot of resources to work on a messaging campaign to include press releases in all the different counties, talking about all of our various emergency alerting systems, because SMC Alert, the system that we have here in San Mateo County, as you all know, those alert systems are separate and specific to each county. And so we know that a lot of people are going to be visiting our beautiful county, many people staying here or just traveling through. And so we're really focused on making sure that people are prepared. They know to sign up for emergency alerts. So, you know, if there is a traffic disruption or some kind of emergency, they have access to that information, and we can provide them with that in real time. So that continues to be a focus for the Super Bowl, and really looking forward to working with all of you and open to your ideas on how we can further support your cities and communities too. Thank you.
Other questions?
Yes, please, thank you, Chair. May I ask, how do you get messages to visitors when they come in? What kind of messaging? So they sign up for SMC Alert, for example.
Yeah, so SMC Alert is specific for emergency and urgent information. So for those who are just visiting, we're going to be posting on our social media accounts and really relying on outlets in the media and the relationship that we have with local media outlets to share, you know, kind of the fun stuff. And it's important too. But for emergencies, that's really where we're going to rely on SMC Alert. And through those press releases, the messaging has been focused on if you're coming to visit our region, the Bay Area, for the Super Bowl and even for FIFA, we want you to sign up now.
So there's two components, as we talked about, there's two components of SMC Alert. There is the opt-in component, and there is a component that is the wireless emergency alert component, which basically we can send out, even if they have not signed up, we can send out an alert that will ping a cell tower, and anything in that cell tower's reach, there will be some bleed over, it will ping all of those people. So we have the ability to do that through the integrated public alert warning system and EAS, where you see those bands under TV, right? There is a tsunami warning or there is flash flooding. So we're able to access that system. So both opt-in and opt-out.
Other questions? If not, then thank you all for being here. Appreciate your time. Thank you for updating us on what's going on. And it sounds like you'll be up several more nights into a couple months. And unless you want to tell us who's going to win the Super Bowl, then we want to thank you and enjoy your evening. Appreciate your being here with us. Which, talking about Super Bowl, we'll move to item 4, 2026 Super Bowl readiness.
Hi, everybody. Just a quick introduction. My name's Nelson Cordaway. I started working for emergency management in September. I come from a background of 30 years in law enforcement, recently retiring from the town of Hillsborough as their police chief. I have a background in large scale events. I was interested in emergency management when I was the zone commander. So for those who aren't familiar, the way mutual aid works in San Mateo County, we have 3 zones: north, central, and south. And through the sheriff's office as kind of the lead, each zone has a commander that reaches out to the cities that are within that region to help and assist and coordinate for emergency response. So that was my background. And when it was time to retire, I thought this would be a great fit. Sure, you didn't know it, but she started recruiting me by going to the chiefs meetings and talking about all the great things she's doing with alert and warning and coordination of those things. And here I am. So just to let you know, on our posture for the Super Bowl, we're here to assist the sheriff's office, but we're also here to assist each and every one of you, all of your towns, not only on the law side, which I tend to sometimes speak a lot about because that's my background, but we're also able to monitor fire, health, those kind of things. We've been planning for this Super Bowl for about a year. We've had a lot of coordination meetings in San Jose, where the hub is going to be. There's going to be a very big emergency operations center there. And that's where the big footprint is. And fortunately for us, we are going to have our assistant director, Ryan Reynolds, will be embedded there for the Super Bowl. I'm going to be up on a virtual channel that monitors all the threats within the Bay Area and reported out from the command center in San Jose. So I'll be able to share that information with law enforcement, fire, EMS and those kind of things. So we really look to kind of be the information hub or the nerve center to help all the decision makers and stakeholders make the best decisions possible and allocate the resources in that way. Some of the tools we have in the EOC, we're able to monitor fire, police calls, see if there's a surge in any area within San Mateo County. That'll be our focus to make sure that resources are directed in the right way, to the most appropriate way. We also get intelligence about things that may be happening that could disrupt transit, which was mentioned before as a major concern with Caltrain, BART, all of those things having an imprint in San Mateo County. If people are posting things on social media about events, sometimes we'll get an alert platform through our platforms that lets us know about things happening, and we can help assist law enforcement and emergency services in general with getting the right resources to those locations. That's one thing I learned when I was a zone commander, is having relationships built in early so that you know who to call, when to call, those kind of things. That's very helpful. And that's why we've been at this for about a year, and we have a great relationship with our sheriff's office. And are just ready to coordinate, and things are going to run very smoothly, and we'll get through the Super Bowl no problem. So just wanted to give you that quick update from emergency management, and thank you for your time. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer.
Any questions, Redwood City?
You're welcome not to answer this or answer it obliquely, but your predecessor speaker, what keeps you up at night regarding these events?
Well, it would be an unknown, like having an earthquake on top of all the extra people here, having a storm. It looks like the weather's going to be good, those kind of things. A world event that would have an impact on people's reaction to the Super Bowl and make it even a bigger target, those kind of things. Those kind of things, but we're well prepared for anything and everything. And not only through planning, but our mutual aid agreements, the region is ready. There's going to be more assets here. The Super Bowl is top tier. It's called a Tier 1 event. So nationwide, it's by the government, by the administration, it has the most resources available. So the federal footprint on the security apparatus and the support from the entire state and the region is very heavy. So that we're going to have a ton of support if anything comes our way.
So thank you. And just one follow-up for the heck of it. So have you guys really done preparation training for this event happening plus an earthquake? Or plus a blizzard, or?
We've had those discussions. Those come up in what we call tabletops and those kind of round tables where, like you said, that was a great question. What keeps you up at night? That's questions we ask our emergency coordinators. The chiefs of police all ask their departments, their fire chiefs ask that. And through those discussions, people have plans and ideas. And we have a system. It's called, we have systems in place, emergency management systems that through the incident command center. So we know that if something happens, we reach out to the next zone. If something happens that's too big for this zone, we reach out to the state, and then the state can reach out to the region, and the region can reach out to the federal government. Those things have all been built in over many, many years and have proven well over time.
So final follow-up question, I promise, but what do I say to my neighbors when I meet them at the mailbox tomorrow about what to expect in the next 7 days with the Super Bowl, or what advice to keep them safe?
Increase traffic, and I would say, make sure, just like anything else, like for storms and those kind of things, you just want to make sure you have your preparations in place, like in case if something does happen, like any other event, your medications, you have food supply, you have water, you have a go bag, those kind of things, like you would prepare for anything, really. And just, I would be mindful that there's going to be probably traffic and inconsistent patterns on the freeways because of visitors, and people who take public transit should know that there's going to be impacts, those kind of things.
Other questions? Seeing, hearing none, thank you very much for the update and the presentation.
Sure.
We'll move on to item 5, 2025 SFO full-scale exercise presentation, please.
Hi, good evening. I'm Alice Shea. I'm one of your airport emergency management coordinators. And for this exercise, I serve as the exercise director. So you may know that the airport is regulated by many different federal agencies, very notably the FAA. They play a very important, we have a lot of obligations to FAA. They come by on an annual basis to audit things like our runway markings and runway lights. They're going through training records for everybody who touches the airfield, very notably our aircraft rescue firefighting team, our firefighters. And us at emergency management, we have a very small piece. It's the airport emergency plan. And so with Title 14, the section that covers airports that accept commercial flights, that would be Part 139. So we call this a Part 139 inspection. So we at emergency management are responsible for developing and maintaining our airport emergency plan. We also must display our annual trainings, and we have to prove that we're updating this document. And we have to conduct on a triannual basis a full-scale emergency drill that includes at least 100 people. So we at the airport, though we choose to conduct this full-scale exercise annually because we have the capacity to do so, and we want to always just maintain the highest level of preparedness. In this year, we conducted a water rescue incident, which was very high on the FAA's sort of list of things to assess amongst their audits this year. As part of our water rescue exercise, we had to prove we had the support inventory, we had to prove incident command, and that we had response assignments. So the scenario, a narrow body aircraft contacts a drone during takeoff. So it's fully loaded, full of fuel and at least 100 passengers. It's a hard landing in the San Francisco Bay. The fuselage sustains damage, and the event triggers an on-rescue response. Over at the airport, the airline is activating local emergency plans, and the TSA and law enforcement conduct a drone investigation. For this exercise, the EOC, the Emergency Operations Center response was simulated. Our exercise objectives, we had 6 of them. To rescue, account for, and track 100 or more passengers in a water incident, to establish and maintain incident command within 10 minutes of response, execute a coordinated communications plan with all responding agencies. And during the exercise, we wanted to see agencies successfully navigate to and from a designated fueling point. We wanted to see our airline establish and staff a passenger gathering area with support from their partners. This is an NTSB requirement. Activate a friends and family reception center within 1 hour, also utilizing supporting airlines and partners to provide timely information and resources to family members and their friends. So we had more than 350 volunteers registered, incredible support from a lot of our friends in San Mateo County. We pulled from CERT programs, and from San Francisco, we pulled from the NERT program. We actually had to turn volunteers away because we had exceeded capacity by a lot. We invited 50 high school students from Vacaville High School. Their medical science class or team reached out to be involved with them to see like the real mass casualty situation in action. More than 40 responding agencies. I could actually spend my entire lot of time here just naming all of the agencies that came to support. So we're incredibly grateful. We had volunteer photographers, some SFO staff, some SFFD staff, and volunteers from our community also came to support. We initiated the flag brigade response, which is the airport sort of, they're like therapy animals that go out to make traveling less stressful. So we had 3 very cute dogs come to support, and we had 2 helicopter crews in the way of Sanford Light Flight and also the Coast Guard, the air station, which is at SFO. Show you some very cool pictures. We invited Moulage to come and support this event as well. They simulated injuries with makeup on a group of very willing volunteers. And we simulated the aircraft in the water with a ferry. We pretended that passengers escaped the aircraft wreckage from the ferry, which is the aircraft, and into an the aircraft's rescue flotation devices. They were transferred onto one of the airport's flotation devices, and they sort of waited around for rescue boats to take them to shore. So very interestingly, this was for a lot of us the first time we had seen some of these rescue platforms be inflated in this way. So it was a really very cool experience for us all. We had, like I said, we had so many participating agencies. Basically, every Bay Area agency that had any kind of watercraft came to support in some way or another. So again, incredible support from San Mateo County, but also Marin County. We had a group coming from, I think near Petaluma, somewhere, Golden Ridge area came to support as well. And of course, on the federal level, the Coast Guard was incredible help. The sector, the station, San Francisco, and also the air station. San Francisco Bay Ferry was here to play the role of the aircraft. Yeah. And we had jet skis come in. We also inflated the ferry's very large flotation device. So that was also very interesting to see. Again, for some of us, the first time we had seen that in person. So again, our exercise objectives is to really briefly go over some really good things that came out of this, which was we demonstrated collaboration, very strong collaboration with our mutual aid resources, our medical transport providers, hospitals, and of course, San Mateo County Health. We saw Oyster Point Harbor being used very effectively as a casualty collection point. It's very well fitted to receive victims from the water, and also had a built-in sort of decontamination system in place. So it's obviously very well practiced. All of the passengers that went into the water were rescued and accounted for, and they matched our fake manifest. So that was another win. We did see incident command established immediately. It was helpful that Coast Guard was on scene very early on to help make sure that that was happening. We saw really good water rescue coordination. The roles were sort of passed along agencies really seamlessly from what I heard. We saw good use of the on-scene coordinator role and interoperability at a basic level between the airport and local responders were demonstrated. In terms of areas for improvement, of course, we found very many. Some things that we'll focus on in the coming year. We found that some of our triage procedures between San Francisco City and San Francisco Airport and San Mateo County, they're not aligned. And in a case where we have a giant mass casualty somewhere near the airport, we're really depending on all of our resources to be aligned at a basic level. So that's something that we'll be addressing. We did see a little bit of confusion at first with using Oyster Point because they had so many accessible docks. We saw that some victims were dropped off safely to shore, but there was no medical personnel to receive them. So that's something that we'll need to work on as well. We didn't utilize ICS assignments, and we weren't wearing vests, which could have helped with some of that confusion. And we did find, from our perspective, that our SFO MRF, which is the Marine Emergency Response Facility, it's not staffed on a 24/7 basis. And the emergency channel 16, where emergency calls will go out, but that's also not monitored all the time by our staff at the airport. And we had a very small issue with the Coast Guard command center's phones going down when they were supposed to start the exercise. So that's something that we've already rectified. Oh, that's it. Did anybody have any questions for me?
Any questions on the presentation? Millbrae and then Foster City, please.
Yep. First and foremost, thanks for the thoughtful presentation, and thank you all who participated in this drill. It really helps us find out the gaps within our emergency response. My question is incredibly general. Regarding this drill, we've known about it for a while. CCFD was involved, heard it went fairly well. But as an elected official of one of the cities that's right by us at the airport, are elected officials able to attend this event to kind of understand what's going on, and then more importantly, on the messaging side of it, because over in Millbrae, last year, we had an incident at one of our middle schools where when dispatch went to report it, they reported it as a mass casualty event. So as you can imagine, parents hear that, it starts going through a grapevine, all of a sudden local electeds start getting phone calls coming in. So being that, God forbid, we have an incident like this, it'd be good to know as a local elected official, how do we respond?
That's a really good question. First, you are invited. Yes, I think we did have a few elected officials join us. We chartered a boat for that occasion. And as far as messaging, I will say it's not something that we were able to exercise in this full-scale exercise. We would have really liked to open a JIC, a Joint Information Center, for something like this. And that's certainly something that we would do in a real emergency. And that is still on the table. That's still something that we want to exercise this year. Because I should mention that this was the full-scale part. A lot of it was based on the response, but a lot of the things that we still want to work through, maybe in a tabletop exercise or discussion-based exercise, would be like around the recovery, around things like messaging and, you know, alerting the general public, because definitely there will be media involvement and things like that. So
Yeah, I think messaging is really important in this aspect because being so close to all those different areas of transportation when they cross the intermodal transportation hub, I can only imagine how traffic would be impacted, people panicking, and being able to understand, you know, where are these exit routes? How is traffic going to flow? How are we able to respond when we have these calls coming in? So definitely would like to be included next time around.
thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. I'm just curious, I saw a lot of rescue equipment for that exercise. Does SFO rely on other agencies like the Coast Guard, like the jet ski, for instance, or is that equipment that the airport owns itself and so it's ready for these?
We have at our Marine Emergency Response Facility, we do have a limited number of rescue marine assets and jet skis, but for this exercise, those responding agencies came in on their equipment.
Other questions?
Yeah, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah. To piggyback on my counterpart from Foster City's question. I sit on the board for the San Mateo Foster City Belmont Consolidated Fire JPA. And we get a lot of we have to respond a lot with our fire for water incidents, particularly kite surfers who kite surf right into the side of the San Mateo Bridge. And what we've found is that, you know, we are not sometimes, but always first on scene for those types of incidents. So I was wondering, to kind of glom onto what she was saying, is what is the expectation? If a plane goes down, who is 24 hours a day on call to get on the water?
Yeah.
And I'm sure beyond that, it's also mutual aid. So everybody who can will, right? But is there a designated point person who's supposed to be, you know, first to hit the water?
So I will say that in our airport emergency plan, the FAA expects us to be responsible for the 2-mile perimeter around the airport and our runways. But we recognize that there are agencies like the Coast Guard who we would rely on. Definitely, they have very robust mass rescue operation plans, and they have lots of plans. And we definitely recognize that even if we were first on scene, and we're not always, that's not always the case. That as soon as the Coast Guard comes in, they sort of take over command. Yes, this is their bread and butter for sure.
Thank you.
Other question?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was kind of gonna hold off, but I guess I'm gonna address the elephant in the room. Given the past experience I have, especially with the city and county of San Francisco, you made a good point on one of your slides in that the collaboration and the communication between all entities does not always exist, and having such an exercise definitely proved that, because you even made mention of it in the slide. For those of you who've ever been to San Francisco International Airport, who patrols the airport? Law enforcement.
It's San Francisco Police Department. Airport.
Exactly, and everyone walking around there says San Francisco Police. But the hindrance there is if an arrest is made, say for instance, in the case of a joint terrorism incident. Since the San Francisco International Airport is located in San Mateo County, according to the law, any person arrested on the airport grounds, if you have to be brought immediately before a magistrate, you don't go to San Francisco. They have to be transported all the way to San Mateo County. And I think that's a problem that we have because it can basically impede investigations. And a lot of folks don't realizing you are in San Mateo County and certain procedures needs to be followed. So I'd be interested in waiting to see if we have these tabletop exercises dealing with this so that we can try to close off some of those spaces that could perhaps be an impediment in the future. So, but this is a good example of the start because all I saw was SFFP. All I saw was Coast Guard. And, you know, so we, and the question from trustee Newsom made mention, actually, well, who is actually responsible? And this would be a great awakening. So thank you for that. And I think that's very important. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Noted, thank you.
Hearing none, thank you very much. It was very informative and we appreciate that. It's really
Check if there's any public comment.
Thank you, sir.
For the presentation. Anybody online? I have no cards with me, so feel free to move on.
Appreciate it. Next we'll move on to item 6, joint exercise of powers agreement update. You're quick, you're already there.
Yes, I'm already there. Happy New Year. I am excited to say that after about a year and a half, we have completed the process of our joint exercise of powers agreement. The cities all have signed. It went to the board has all signed. It went back to the cities for signature, and then the recorder at each of the cities actually has, or the clerk at each of the cities actually has the full document for, and then it will be up on our website as well. So thank you so much. That is my report.
Thank you. Thank you for the update and thank you to all the communities for us getting it done. Item 7.
Well, I just gotta check if there's public.
Yeah.
comment on items.
It's
there online. Oh, thank you.
Next. Updated recommended 2026 meeting calendar.
So we'll go back to our last meeting in I believe of September of last year. We voted on a calendar, but many of you had conflicts and really wanted to come. So what we did was we looked at the 5th Thursdays of the month. A very unique solution because there's usually 3, 5, 5th Thursdays of the month in the year in the quarters. And so so this is the updated proposed. We did send this out and it seems that so I'm asking to change the dates of the meeting.
What the director has done is try to, as you can imagine, we all meet different time of days, was to try to look at all of the city and town's calendars for their council meetings, because obviously that includes, as an example, Pacifica has a special meeting and that's why Pacifica. But that, it was for the regular meetings that were, obviously the others can't. Any questions or comments? This is an action item and there be no public comment. Any? None? Okay. So, any motion or second from
So moved.
Hillsborough, Foster City, motion and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Don't you wish that's how we go on everything? No discussion. Item 8. Recommended 2027 meeting calendar.
So as we were looking at 2026, we did the same for 2027. Why do the work twice? So, let's just get one vote out is the thought process. So similar process. I do want to highlight that the first meeting in January, is not the 5th Thursday. And that is the only exception to that, rule.
Take a look, any, Daily City.
Yeah, so that would be barring, earthquakes.
Correct. There's been a motion, is there a second? Second, is there any public comment? No public comment, motion and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. Item 9, Directors 2026 outlook.
So every year on the beginning of the year, I do an outlook for all of you. And, today we informally asked you, earlier today, what do you think are gonna be the top challenges in emergency management? And we talked about multi-jurisdiction coordination, and that was mentioned again here in the meeting, right? Because a citizen experiences one emergency, but many systems and governments have to respond together and in a coordinated way to actually address that specific citizen's emergency response. And so this is big for us. This is a challenge because we are many cities and towns and fire districts and police districts and special districts. Crisis communication consistency. If we don't have consistent message, there's hesitancy. If there's hesitancy, people don't take action. People don't take action, injury, deaths. This matters. We do need to work on this together. And we will be working on this. Public complacency. I don't have time to do the personal preparedness, it takes too long. There is this idea that it's a lot of work. There's this idea that it's not gonna happen to me, the false sense of security. The hope that I hope that we all have collectively is that for each family, you are the first responder, right? Before the first responders even get there. So how do we, all of you, champion that? Misperceived risk priorities. See in the Hollywood movies, the giant tsunami wave. Milbrae wants to know if they're in the zone, These are threats that are possible. But we have regular threats that happen, regular emergencies, storm surge, coastal waters are quite hazardous right now. You go out there, it's beautiful weather. In 3 weeks, there could be a atmospheric river, and there could be flash flooding everywhere. And those emergencies are the ones where we see loss of life, loss of property, and injuries. Equity gaps in preparedness, disasters don't create inequity, they reveal inequity. For every community, disaster hits differently. So they need to be prepared differently. And we think, and we have been, as a management team, we've been thinking about this. How are we going to be championing this? And not just us, all of you in your cities and towns. These are the priorities that we want to think about and work on. So there's 3 things that we are working on that are going to be structural resiliency building. Community readiness, planning, training, and exercise. That is the bedrock. That is the cornerstone. Community readiness is getting the word out to the community to understand if they're able to turn off their gas, do those simple things for their own emergencies and really do that grassroots movements. I think we've been very lucky to have Sandra here, who's led quite a bit in the last year, 30+ events, grassroots in each of your cities and towns. Public information, you heard a little bit about what we're doing and what we'll continue to do this year with the public information officers. So there's a clear, consistent message that people are seeing, whether it's your law or your fire person, they're saying the same thing in the same way. There's no hesitancy. Therefore, action is taken immediately. This is one of my passion projects, the community-based organization collaboration. So when I started here in emergency management, we didn't really have a direct line to community-based organizations. So we invited them all in for a listening session. There were about 44 CBOs that came in, and we continued that work with the work groups. And now what we're doing is creating a structure of north, south, middle, coast side CBOs. So they're able to communicate and there's a structure of that communication because there are trusted agents. They're the last mile, so getting them prepared in order to get the citizens prepared. Community resilience centers, something that we've been working with the libraries on, and you'll hear more about that throughout the year. Planning is the backbone. These are not binders that are sitting on shelves. These are pre-negotiated decisions and responsibilities and roles. And we're working on 3 really, really big ones. Local hazard mitigation plan, emergency operation plan, and all hazard evacuation planning framework. If you all remember, about 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago, all hazard evacuation planning framework was something that this Emergency Services Council actually put forth and wanted to move forward. We did the base plan. Now we're working with both the fire chiefs and the police chiefs to get a more tactical and operational plan. Because if you don't have the tactics and operations, then it is a binder that's sitting on the shelf. So how do we operationalize? How do we socialize that? And they're planning on exercising this at in May, March, I think May, for like unified command. And we'll continue to work on this as well. Training and exercise. This is our muscle memory, right? You train, you exercise, and alert and warning, as I spoke about last year, we're going to continue that alert and warning, the 5-element framework with each of your cities. We've done a few cities already, such as South San Francisco, East Palo Alto, coming into the city, getting fire, law enforcement, PIOs all together in one room, not just talking about it, but getting on the computer and doing it, logging in, make sure people are doing it. And so building that muscle memory, so when there's an emergency, people can start putting out messaging. But other trainings and exercises, we have emergency management training and trainings, and then we will have 2 big exercises that we will be hosting. One is going to be in spring, in May. It's going to be called the Golden Eagle, and the second one is going to be in October, which will be an earthquake scenario. This all ties back to the things that we talked about earlier. Every one of these things hits and moves forward multi-jurisdictional coordination. It moves forward crisis communication. It moves forward public complacency because we're trying to move things forward. Misperceived risk, like our local hazard mitigation plan, for example, puts down the risks on paper. We're gonna go and do outreach and focus groups and basically have the community tell us what their risk is and then calculate that risk and tell them what their risk is. We just finished a survey, understanding what the community needs are before, during, and after emergencies. So really understanding what the expectations are, understanding what the reality is, and then really informing the public, this is what we can do, and this is what is your responsibility. And that is, I think, is really important. Throughout this whole thing, equity is just part of that. It's a whole community approach. We listen by default with our communities, and then we respond to this. And our five commitments by 2030, our strategic plan was really built upon listening. And we had more than 100 plus participants with almost, I think, 80 stakeholders, different stakeholders. Comprehensive planning excellence. So not just a plan, but a plan that will help us get better, that has operations, that has tactics, and that's been socialized in practice. Emergency communication systems. This is our alert and warning piece. Workforce readiness, EOC training, disaster service worker training, training and operational integration, either conducting or hosting about 10 annual trainings or exercises. We're already, like, as we plan for the next year, we're already past that 10 as we're planning. Because we will be activated for not just a Super Bowl, but also FIFA, and then there is a golf event that's also happening. And then working with our libraries to really create that community resiliency network. So my question to you is, how are you all going to help me champion this in making that impact happen in your communities? Thank you.
Thank you. Are you going to give us the results of the question you had asked us earlier?
Yes, the top three are multi-jurisdictional coordination was number one by far, crisis communication consistency, and public complacency. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Questions or comments from my colleagues?
I've got a quick comment first. Thank you for the presentation, and you have elevated the professionalism of this group. It's remarkable, and thank you for that. And it doesn't surprise me that multi-jurisdictional coordination would come from your elected officials representing multi-jurisdictional entities. In another lifetime, if I go back 100 years when I did my undergraduate work in Atlanta, I was in public health. And I don't remember anything about it except on our orientation the very first day was that communications is your currency. And if you lose that credibility, it's over. You'll never gain it back. And I think the pandemic was a pretty good example of what I think was pretty bad communications, if not a good response. And so the people, when a disaster hits, they're looking at one person on TV or the radio or listening to it on the radio or the internet. And I know, there's people in this room who have a lot of experience. We have an amazing communications team. But we've all watched these disasters unfold around the country. And there's either some elected official, some governor or mayor or whatever it is, but an emergency management person or somebody from law enforcement who's up there who always makes an enormous impression on the public. You're watching it, you feel, this person's got it under control. We feel good about that. So all these things that we're doing are kind of for us and for our staff and things, but when a disaster hits, we're looking at one person on TV. And so I think that crisis communication is really you can't ever lose that. If you lose that credibility, it's over. And it won't be gained back, certainly not during the crisis. So I'm really strong on that one. The consistent message is the single person, making sure we're really lucky we have such amazing communicators in this organization. But that would just be my little push there. It's the one thing that I learned that I never forgot. I forgot everything else, but not that. And I learned to live through that through the pandemic, watching what I thought was just tragic communications that was like, oh my gosh, you can't say stuff you don't know. And multiple people saying things. So that would be the only thing I would say. Hopefully we don't have that disaster, but we will. So
we're gonna be in good hands. Thank you.
Are there questions or comments from colleagues? Yes, Carl, welcome.
Yeah, how is everyone's been doing this for a while. How has the landscape changed at the national level in terms of FEMA and the response for a major emergency? Not a Super Bowl, but, earthquake in California, hurricane in happening currently in Houston or Florida at the same time. Have things changed?
The landscape continues to change. The FEMA Review Council, we have been following very closely. They were supposed to come up with a report. The meeting was canceled, I think within an hour of that meeting to start. That was supposed to be the final meeting, the FEMA Review Council. We are definitely seeing different grants that are, for example, the brick grant gone. Other grants are in limbo. The federal landscape is continuing to change. We are continuing to follow it very closely. And we are continuing to think about what we can do locally here, because all of us are in it together. And we all will need to, put down our roots here with emergency response. And so that is why we're doing some of this work with the CBOs and getting them prepared for emergencies. It's really putting that root down, almost want to be a fungus, right? Can't ever get emergency management out, right? Like that's how good we want to be. Sorry, the doctor invited me.
Thank you. The chair. Thank you. Thank you for your presentation. I do applaud you for the goal and it's clearly said and it's well presented. I think that in the past, I think especially in this county, there's a lot of familiarity about mutual aids. And, especially in the law enforcement and the fire. And oftentimes is chief's handshake and done. This is, and now we, as time requires, we do more of the MOU and, memorialize it. But at the end of the day, with all the city's jurisdictions, we have a lot of new hires. I think those are the parts that I would be so much interested. I trust that the experience and the trainings continues. I think that it is when we continue to replenish the workforce with new hires, they may not have the perspective and the understanding. And that will be something that encompasses upon the management to continue to provide the framework and the training so that is a consistency there. And then it translates to the constituents, shall we say, that the residents would then respond to that and be able to take actions, hopefully.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you so much. Thank you for giving us the results. You wanted to say who said what, but it seems a lot of us are all.
Good morning.
So, second. So no public comment. I will say that, let's just, as we have the Super Bowl coming up, as we heard from the sheriff, February 1st through the 9th. Let's keep the county, let's keep our communities and our thoughts and our positive thoughts. And whatever kind of thoughts you want to expound upon that to our public safety persons and those that are out in the field doing the work and our DEM staff. So with that, thank you all. Happy New Year and meeting adjourned.